Hey BretFlixers, hello BretFlexicans, Flixicans, whether you're flexing or flixing, either way, you know, do it with pride. Another thing you should do with pride is to always admit whether or not you like a movie, no matter what it is. And that's a very important point that is basically the underlying theme of this video. For a lot of film lovers, when they see a classic movie, they feel like they automatically have to like it, otherwise they're wrong. I'm here to say that that is wrong. That you don't have to do it. You don't have to like any movie. Like whatever movie you want to like for any reasons you want to like, and don't make excuses for it. Don't apologize for it. And don't like whatever movie you don't like, and you don't have to apologize for it. The only thing I will say is, for a lot of movies, you do have to recognize their importance to film history. You know, recognize the influence that has been drawn from a lot of movies. You know, but you don't have to like Citizen Kane. If you want, you can find that to be the most boring movie on the planet, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, what I'm going to give you is another top 5 video, but this is going to be top 5 great films that I don't like. And maybe I'll get some flack for this, but I don't care, because I don't know what you want me to say. I just don't like these movies, you know. I'm sorry. You know, it might be tough for some people to accept, but that's just the way it is. The first film on my list is actually kind of a mixed one, because it's a movie I do like for some reasons, but I don't like for others. Ultimately, I do kind of have to give this movie a thumbs down, because I basically object to its moral stance. I think the movie's misguided morally, and I disagree with the points it tries to make. And that is David Fincher's very beloved movie, Fight Club. Now, like I said, I do like this movie for certain aspects. I am a major David Fincher fan. I do think the man is a genius. He's, as some of our older filmmakers that are, that have been making movies for decades, as they kind of pass on, he'll be one of the ones to take up the mantle. I love almost every single movie he makes. I even kind of have a love for Fight Club. Obviously Alien 3 was kind of lame, but every other movie he's made, I really thoroughly enjoy. A couple of them are some of my favorites, actually. But, like I said, I feel Fight Club's a little misguided on moral grounds. That's my main objection to it. It basically advocates violence, and I'm against that. That's not something I believe in. I think that's very wrong. I mean, I think this movie makes a lot of interesting points about human nature that I guess I would agree with, that, we are kind of prone to violence, and and we obviously respond, we respond to things with violence when we definitely shouldn't. But that's where this movie kind of stops its moral compass. It's like, we respond to things with violence, and at this point you should say, but we shouldn't. It never goes to that green area. It stays in the red area the whole time. I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say that the major twist is, towards the end, when you find out Brad Pitt actually is just in Edward Norton's head the whole time, and Brad Pitt is kind of the side of him that is trying to promote all this violence and this chaos and this anarchy. And then once Edward Norton figures that out, basically like in the last 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, he tries to stop it all. There's never a scene where he realizes it was wrong. He just goes, "Oh, I gotta stop this," So the movie, so I would have been okay with that. I would have liked to have seen that one added scene. I know that sounds really nitpicky. I try not to be nitpicky, but it is something that gets to me. I would have liked one more scene where the film really discusses, how it's, how it is wrong to hit another person, how it is wrong to hurt people and to kill people and destroy people, and this movie never goes there. All you see is the violence and the destruction, but it never says, "Oops, this isn't the way to do things." So, but like I said, there are things I do like about the movie. Obviously, the performances from everybody are great. There's a lot of great actors in this movie, and they're really at the top of their game. And also, I just think, just kind of in terms of visuals and technical in a technical standpoint, this is one of Fincher's greatest achievements. The movie looks amazing. It's as well made as any movie he's ever done, you know, if not his most well made. You know, so I can enjoy it for that aspect. And even when I watch it, I can kind of just like get over the fact that I feel it's misguided and just enjoy it, you know. But ultimately, you know, this is a movie I gotta kind of say sorry. It's not what it's supposed to be. Maybe I sound too nitpicky. Maybe you guys disagree. But let me know if that's the case. But that's my number 5 pick. That's, you know, a great film that I don't like. Now, the rest of the movies on my list I don't own, so sadly I can't give you like a visual and stuff, so this is going to be probably a pretty plain video. But number 4 on my list is a Godard movie. Now, I believe it was in my a top 5 video I did on the 60s, where I briefly mentioned Godard, because he did make one of my favorite films of the 60s, that was Vivre sa vie. But then I think I mentioned how I was a critic of Godard, and so I guess this is where I'll delve a little bit more into that, and I'm specifically choosing to pick on his film Pierrot le Fou. I don't know if that's really how you say it, but Pierrot le Fou is very, very loved. It's in the Criterion Collection. A lot of people say it's one of the greatest films of all time, that it's one of Godard's reigning achievements as a filmmaker. And I guess I'm just using this movie to kind of represent my overall dislikes for Godard. I admire the man. I do. I have a lot of admiration, and I respect him. And you know, I am very thankful for the innovations he's done to film and to the film industry itself. Even he's an important filmmaker. I would put, you know, I would say he's one of the ultimate most important filmmakers there is. But I don't really enjoy his movies. I find his movies very self-indulgent. And I find his movies to be kind of, excuse the word, kind of masturbatory, you know, just like, ooh, look at me, look at what I'm doing, you know, very pretentious. And to me, this was one of them. I would have forgiven this movie if it was a bit shorter, but that's the thing, is I've seen it one time, and this was a while ago, and to me, it honestly felt like it exceeded 3 hours. And I think when I actually looked at the runtime, it was much shorter than that. I think maybe it was something like 100 minutes. I don't know, but yeah, that was just kind of this whole movie for me. It was just a scene after scene of the reasons why I don't respond well to Godard films. There are some Godard films I do enjoy. You know, I like Land of Outsiders. I like BretFlix. Obviously, I love Vivre sa vie. But almost everything else I've seen from him, I don't like. You know, I don't like Pierrot le Fou. I didn't like Weekend. I didn't like A Woman is a Woman. I saw Film Socialism, was not a fan of that one, but a lot of people weren't, I guess. So I guess that's just kind of my rant on that one. Pierrot le Fou, great movie, not one I enjoy. And then next, for my number 3 pick. This one was kind of sad for me, because this is from a filmmaker that I just love so much. I have to pick, and maybe this is why I don't like it so much, is because I wanted to like it so much, and when I didn't, I was just so disappointed. I have to pick a Bergman film, an Ingmar Bergman film. This is a candidate for one of the most boring movies I have ever seen in my entire life, and a lot of people consider it to be a masterpiece. It is Ingmar Bergman's The Silence. Now, The Silence, I believe, is part 3 of his Silence of God trilogy. And I was going through those films. You know, I saw Through a Glass Darkly. I loved that movie. I saw Winter Light. And Winter Light was pretty good. Not one of my favorites. I feel like it had a great, like, kind of second half, a pretty boring first half. But The Silence, man, The Silence, that was just, from the first frame to the last frame, just a bore fest. The whole way through, you know. And I get the point. You know, I get the point of the movie. You know, there's the one woman, I believe they're sisters or whatever. She's, you know, she's sick in the body, and, you know, she's physically sick, and the other woman has mental issues, so she's mentally sick, and, you know, and they're separated, and they just can't connect, and blah blah blah. And this was one of the times where I was just like, I don't care, you know. And I love Bergman's movies. I love the philosophy in his films. This was one that I just did not connect with. Don't ask me why. I think that's a great concept, but man, to have a whole movie just based on that is one thing. There's one thing I do kind of like about the movie is the movie takes place in a hotel, and there's always these little people running around the hotel the whole time. And I think, and if I remember correctly, they even get like 1 or 2 whole scenes just them. No idea how they fit into it. Maybe there's comedic relief. Maybe it's kind of something to break up the scenes between the 2 sisters or something. For me, it definitely wasn't enough to save the movie, not at all. I mean, that was kind of an interesting thing to see in there, I guess, just for seemingly no reason. Now, the thing is this is a short movie. Like, I feel this movie would have worked better as a short film. And when I say short film, I mean like a 15 to 20 minute film, not a feature length film. But this is still pretty short as far as movies go. It's like an even 90 minutes. But man, it felt like 5 hours. I swear. I was checking the time like that. Throughout the whole movie, I was checking the time like, oh, at least 30 minutes have to have passed by, but only 3 minutes have passed by. And I couldn't believe it. I was losing my patience. I had to get up and kind of walk around. I really wanted to just like check my phone and just like get on my computer to do something to entertain me, but that's kind of against my philosophy when I watch movies, is I try not to do those things. And then, man, when it was over, I cheered. And I hate to say that about Bergman. But this was just a difficult one. I guess when you make so many movies, they can't all be winners, and that's a little disappointing. Especially since I've pretty much liked every other one of his movies I've seen, and I've seen a couple dozen. Except for Serpent's Egg, that one's not so strong. But anyway, just disappointing, just very, very disappointing, kind of upsetting. I don't know. The Silence, number 3 pick. Now, I'm going to kind of throw myself a curveball here, right in the middle of my list. I pre-made my list of, great films I don't enjoy. And I'm on my number 2 pick. I wrote down a different movie, but I'm actually going to switch it out for something else, because the movie I wrote for my number 2 pick is The Leopard, and it's an Italian classic. But that was one I actually kind of want to revisit it. I feel like this one, if I revisit this one, maybe I'll see something a little different. I don't know. Maybe I'll still feel the same. So you at least know what it would have been. But I'm going to replace it because that's a movie I want to give it another chance, just because I've seen films since then that remind me a lot of The Leopard that I enjoyed. So maybe my taste has changed a little bit. So I just want to give it another chance before I talk about that one in greater detail. So I'm actually going to switch it out for a more modern movie, because all these movies I've been talking about are kind of old, except for Fight Club. Fight Club's not all that old, but this is a very modern movie. It came out in 2015, I believe. It was one of the most hyped things to come out in recent years, especially for me. I was really hyping it up. I was really excited for this movie. I mean, from the time I heard it was announced, from all the raw footage I was seeing from it on the internet, from the statements I was hearing the director make on the making of the film, I was like, finally, I've been waiting for this movie for a long, long, long time, and finally we're getting it. And then when we got it, it was not the movie I was wanting it to be at all. Enough with the suspense. I'm just going to tell you, this movie is Mad Max Fury Road. Not a bad movie. A very well-made movie. There are impressive stunts in the movie. But this just was not the movie I was hoping it was going to be, and I was just so let down when I finally saw it. I mean, and I guess there was just so much hype. Every critic was saying it was the best movie of that year, and they gave it, full star reviews. And it won, gosh, it's like 6 Oscars or something like that. It was nominated for Best Picture. It didn't win Best Picture, but it was nominated for Best Picture. And I saw this movie about a couple months after all that. I saw this movie a couple months after its release on Blu-ray, and it wasn't because I was like holding off to watch it. Like, I wanted to go see it in theaters, but I just didn't get around to doing it. I wanted to see it before the Oscars, just didn't get around to doing it. So when I finally had my chance to see it, man, I was pumped. I was so pumped, and when it was over, I was so let down. Now let me explain why. George Miller said that this was going to be a movie that was like pretty much all real, like real car stunts, real danger, real explosions. And they were, you know, nothing was like shot on a green screen or anything. These were real car stunts and impressive car stunts. But in post-production, the movie was just so freaking color-timed, and there's so many layers of digital effects on top of the raw stuff, on top of the physical stuff, that for me it just was like, what was the point of even doing it? You know, of even doing the real stunts, because the effects I thought looked pretty ugly even. Like, I didn't think they were all that good, and it really kind of took me out of every single scene because they were so caked on there. Excuse me, they were so caked on there, and I didn't feel like I was watching these cars jumping over each other and exploding, which they were in fact doing that, but with all the effects on top of everything that was going on, that's just not what I saw. All I saw was just these ugly digital effects, and I've always been a major critic of ugly digital effects, because for me that completely destroys a movie, and especially when the movie shouldn't have even had half of the effects it did. What was the point? You know, like I said, when I saw the raw footage of the stuff they were doing, when people were still had like wires and you're still, you know, and there was no post production done to any of it, it was amazing. I was like, wow, this thing's gonna be incredible. I can't wait to see this movie. And I knew there was gonna be some digital effects, obviously. when you saw the trailer, there was that big fog storm and stuff, and you know, that was done digitally. I expected that. And of course they would like erase wires and probably digitally put the actor's face on the stunt people's heads, like that kind of stuff I expected. That would have been totally fine. I would not have cared. But everything just on top of it all was just so ugly and such a disappointment. You know, it's not a bad movie. I get why so many people love it. The main reason why I don't like it is just because it wasn't the movie I wanted it to be. You know, I guess I'm still just waiting for a modern Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, I guess nothing's ever going to top Raiders of the Lost Ark, and which is okay. I love Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I still do. But it's like, why can't more movies be made like that? Why do they always have to take these shortcuts and just be lazy and rely on so many digital techniques? And I'm going to retract that lazy statement, because this wasn't an easy movie to make, and it was a dangerous movie to make, and I don't want to kind of debase any of the dangers that the stunt people and the filmmakers and the crew and the actors were going through, because this was a dangerous movie to make. A lot of bad things could have happened and stuff. So I take that word lazy back. This wasn't a lazy movie to make. This was an incredibly difficult movie to make. But it just wasn't the movie I wanted to have made. So I'm just, as a fanboy, you know, I was a lover of Mad Max, as a lover of physical effects and real stunts. I was greatly let down. But I guess maybe I was going to be let down anyway because of the hype I had for this movie. I remember I even appeared on another YouTube channel done by the great Disregarding Henry. Him and I did a talk on just the trailer of the movie, and we talked about how excited we were, because even from the trailer you can see there's just so much thought and imagination and just design that went into this movie. And so we were talking about how excited we were, and man, as I've said, I was let down. And so yeah, it's not a bad movie. I get why people like it. It's just not the movie I wanted to see at all. So that's my number 2 pick for a great movie that I did not enjoy. Now, this last movie I'm going to talk about. Sorry, I woke up feeling kind of sick today. This last movie I'm going to talk about might be a little controversial because it is so loved. When it came out back in the 70s, I think it was like 76, like when it came out, people were already calling it like one of the greatest films of the decade. And it's one of those that has withstood the test of time. People really love it. People are still putting on their best of the 70s. Obviously, I didn't, if you've seen my video. This is Bernardo Bertolucci's Last Tango in Paris. This is my #1 pick. This is kind of my go-to movie for great films I don't like. Because people have asked me that. It's like, oh, have you ever seen that classic movie you really hated? And I was like, Last Tango in Paris. It's like, boom. It's one I always just whip out right there. For a lot of it for the same reasons why I didn't like my other movies. Found it really boring. I got the point, but just because I got the point doesn't mean any of it entertained me. There were good performances. There really were. From the two leads, Marlon Brando and Maria Schneider. They're always great, of course, and I don't know. And for a while, after I first saw this movie and I didn't like it, I was thinking, oh, maybe people just loved it so much back then because Brando was coming off The Godfather, or something. I don't know. But then, people are still praising it to this day. So like I said, my main objections is, one, I thought the whole movie was really boring. The only scene I found myself really into was the scene with Brando, which I think, if I remember correctly, was improvised, where Brando was at the his dead wife's casket. It's an open casket, and he just gives this really emotional monologue. That was really the only scene I found myself that into. And then, of course, I have to mention the famous butter scene. This is kind of where I just checked out. The movie was boring me, and then this extremely just disgusting scene happened, and I was like, oh, this is just gross. And when the movie was over, because of that one scene, I just felt dirty, and not in a good way. And I just felt like I needed to shower, and I just needed to watch just a better movie to get that ugly taste out of my mouth, I mean, if people have seen the movie, they'll know exactly what I mean when I say the butter scene. And for people who haven't seen the movie, you don't want to, because it's just gross, and it's not even gross in man, what would be a good movie to mention? Like a lot of people thought the Human Centipede movie was funny because of how gross it was. It's not at all gross in that kind of aspect. It's gross, and this scene is played very realistically, and if you saw something like this happening to another person, you would probably beat the crap out of whoever was doing it to the other person. Beat them senseless and not even feel bad about it, because it's just that gross. I'm reminded of Roger Ebert's objections to David Lynch's Blue Velvet. How he felt like Isabella Rossellini was being objectified and exploited in that movie, and he felt bad for her when he watched her on screen. I'm curious how to him, what was the difference between that and Last Tango in Paris? Because for me, I feel the exact opposite. I really wasn't that saddened for Isabella Rossellini. I was saddened for her character, but for her as an actress, the stuff she had to do in front of a camera, I felt like she, it was very professional, and I'm sure she was treated well with a lot of respect, from the cast and crew and stuff like that. I didn't really walk away feeling that dirty about the stuff she had to do, but I certainly did about Last Tango in Paris. And I wonder why Ebert hated that, but loved Last Tango in Paris. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe it's the same reason why I like Blue Velvet, but not Last Tango in Paris. I don't know. Maybe I'm just as hypocritical, but yeah, this is a movie I don't enjoy. When it was over, I was kind of angry because I had to watch that, and that's not something I really care to see in a movie. I mean, unless it's kind of done in such a way. I don't know. I mean, it's weird to say. What's the guy's name who made Human Centipede? I think his name was Tom Six. I could be wrong about that, but it's weird to say that Tom Six with his Human Centipede movie had more taste than the great Bernardo Bertolucci did when he made Last Tango in Paris. Or I think maybe a better movie to compare it to would be Killer Joe, the Friedkin movie with McConaughey, Gina Gershon. because that movie has the famous chicken scene. This Tango in Paris has the famous butter scene. Killer Joe has the famous chicken scene. I feel maybe this is where maybe this is where my line is, and I'm just now kind of realizing this. Killer Joe had had a lot of build up to the chicken scene. If you've seen Killer Joe, again, you will definitely know what I'm talking about. And Killer Joe's a movie I highly recommend. That is a great film. There's a lot of build up to the chicken scene, so it's kind of like it like earned the right to have such a shocking scene. Whereas Last Tango in Paris, that scene, the way I remember it, it's just being out of nowhere. Like I think like Maria Schneider like comes home or comes back to the apartment that they've been staying in, and then Brando just throws her to the ground, gets a stick of butter out, and but there was a build up in Killer Joe. There was a lot of screen time in that scene inside the trailer that builds up to that moment, at least like a good 10-20 minutes, before finally the chicken prop pays off. I don't know, maybe that's kind of where I draw the line, because I could see how they got in Killer Joe. I could see how they got to that point. There was like a logical progression to that point, and it kind of had a point, I guess. I mean, obviously, McConaughey, when he's making Gina Gershon do the thing with the chicken, he's not a good guy at all, but the movie knows that. And this is where maybe Tango in Paris just differs. I don't know. But anyway, that was my top 5 great films I don't enjoy. It's an interesting list. I've I actually did write some honorable mentions. And these are films I do like, but are not that into, or I have these heavy criticisms of, or I don't think they're as great as everybody says. It might be some controversial picks. One is Robert Altman's MASH. Wasn't that big of a fan. Anyway, that's a whole other video. I'm just gonna breeze through this list with no explanations. Good Will Hunting, Godfather Part 2. Which I briefly mentioned in my favorite films of the 70s, and Full Metal Jacket. So maybe that what you will. One of these days I'll get to explaining. So thank you for allowing me to do yet another top 5 video. I'll see you guys the next time on BretFlix, and peace out.